Today, in the media conference with Lal Goel, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, News Gaon Se, Samvad Sarokar News, Organ Donation India Foundation and Gyan, our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. And today's topic is COVID returns, impact on criminal cases in India. Crime in India has been recorded since the British Raj with comprehensive statistics now compiled annually by the National Crime Records Bureau NCRB under the Ministry of Home Affairs MHA. Criminal case is a court proceeding in which a person who is charged with having committed or omitted an act against the community or state is brought to trial and either found not guilty or guilty and sentenced. In India, we have one Supreme Court, 25 High Courts and 672 district courts. About 20 lakhs advocates are there in India. India has 19 judges per 10 lakh people on an average, according to a law ministry data. In 1987, the Law Commission had recommended increase in the number of judges to 50 judges per 10 lakh. As of 2019, a total of 51.5 lakhs cognitive crimes comprising 32.2 lakhs Indian Penal Code crimes and 19.4 lakhs special and local laws crimes were registered nationwide, showing a 1.6% annual increase in the registration of cases. The crime rate per 1 lakh population has increased from 383.5 in 2018 to 385.5 in 2019. More than a fifth of all registered crime, that is 10.5 lakhs, were classified as offenses affecting the human body, which involved violent acts such as murder, kidnapping, assault, and death by negligence. The COVID-19 induced disruptions have made a bigger dent on the administration of justice in India, with the pendency of cases having crossed 4.4 crores across all courts as on 15th April 2021. An all-time record, the backlog of cases across Supreme Court, High Courts, and about 19,000 district and subordinate courts have gone up by at least 19% since March last year. Despite resuming urgent hearing on the digital platform on lifting of the lockdown imposed in March last year, more than 70 lakh cases have been added in the pendency list. The total cases pending as of March 25th, 2020 was 3.68 crore, which has now increased to 4.4 crores as on 15th April 2021. It is not surprising to see this alarming increase in pendency of cases, given the reluctance of Indian legal system to quickly adapt to the new challenges and migrate to the digital format. After over a decade-long modernization drive, almost the entire three-tier justice delivery system has been computerized and equipped with modern technology. However, the opposition of a section of the lawyers fraternity has resulted in a slow-paced migration to the digital format. The other reason that has compounded the current situation is rising vacancies across all three tiers of the judiciary. While there have been more than 400 judges' positions vacant in 25 high courts, the situation is worrisome in the lower judiciary with vacancies of more than 5,000 judges. The apex court too have 4 vacancies. The district and subordinate courts have been the worst affected, with total pending cases increasing from 3.2 crores to 3.8 crores during the last 1 year. Just about 2 years ago, the pendency in lower court of 2.9 crores had shown a trend of slowing down. During the same period, the 25 high courts have added 10 lakhs cases in the pending list. The pendencies in high courts have increased from 46 lakhs last year in March to over 57 lakhs as on 15th April 2021. The Niti Aayog, in a 2018 strategy paper, New India at 75, had noted that at the current rate of disposal of cases in our courts, it will take more than 324 years to clear the backlog. Earlier pendency was 2.9 crores cases. The COVID-19 pandemic has only made it worse, with the backlog of 30-year-old cases alone rising by 61% over the last 2 years. Across the country, from 65,695 in December 2018 to 1,05,560 till January 2021. The apex court must look at implementing with urgency the next phase of the proposed e-courts project, which envisages complete transformation of Indian courts into a digital platform, implemented into a digital platform having facilities of e-pay, e-summons, e-hearings, and e-judgment. It proposes a 24/7 digital window for litigants to file cases from anywhere, anytime, with provisions of scheduling digital hearings and ensuring compliance of timeline by both judges and lawyers. Now, when we have discussed and I have given the figures of the last 1 year, why we are worried now? Because COVID returns. As of yesterday, that is 4th May 2021, on that day, India registered 382,691 cases, new cases of coronavirus, which has taken the country's cumulative tally past 2,06,58,000 cases. Yesterday, 3,786 lost their life. Thus, total death due to corona raised to 2,26,169. According to health officials, India has administered 15 crores 89 lakhs 32,921 vaccines doses across the country as of yesterday, that is 4th May 2021, and discussed today this very, very important aspect about the COVID returns impact on criminal cases in India. We have very elite professionals, legal luminaries, and who are expert in their field, although quite young, but very dashing and knowledgeable lawyers with us. And I would like to invite my first guest panelist. He is Advocate Shivang Bhargav. Advocate Shivang Bhargav is a 5th generation lawyer practicing arbitration, criminal and civil litigation at Delhi and Mathura. He did his schooling from the Sindhya School, Gwalior. He did graduation from National Law University and Judicial Academy, Assam. There he was the Joint Secretary of Student Bar Council. He also participated in William Court via moot court competitions at Vienna and Hong Kong. He went for a student exchange to Overstry School, United Kingdom. He marched on 26 January parade at Rajpath, New Delhi. Welcome, Advocate Shivang Bhargav, on our show. Advocate Shivang Bhargav, as you know, earlier we discussed in our programs with many times on the judiciary and the law. And even on the same topic we have discussed last year when the COVID-19 pandemic started. And we were expecting that everything will be okay once the lockdown will be over. But nothing has changed. Rather, now the COVID return is more severe than the last one. Now, we would like to know from you the COVID returns impact on criminal cases in India. Advocate Shivang Bhargav, please.
First of all, a very good morning to everyone on the panel and all the viewers. And for the very first line, I'd like to express my grief for all the people who have been a victim to COVID-19 and who has lost somebody close or have faced the brunt through their someone close who have been lost, who have lost their lives. With this COVID-19 return, when we talk about the current situation on the legal system, the pressures are in a way very same where it was last year. We have grown, if we talk about infrastructure, we have not grown in the infrastructure has not grown in the cities which are still very underdeveloped. So as I'm sitting here today in Mathura, the courts are still functional as at a physical level. There's nothing as to any virtual court or nothing. Still, bails are happening physically. Lawyers have to appear. And despite Allahabad High Court making a statement today that people not getting oxygen is a genocide, it's a mass murder, but still they are expecting lawyers. There is such hypocrisy at so many levels that there is no clear guideline which has been given by the Allahabad High Court. And today they say that lawyers still have to be present in the court to appear for bail. And it is just absurd that 50 lawyers, there is one magistrate and one district judge currently sitting, and that is on a rotational basis. But currently, everyone has to appear in the same court. Like all the government councils are supposed to be in the same court. They are still, as of today and yesterday, there were 50 people in the same court standing all together. So how do you say that infrastructurally we have moved nowhere in past 1 year? And then when we talk about, as you was sir was mentioning, so many statistical points, like the cases have gone up. And today, if we talk about court functioning in criminal aspect, it is very limited to just bail work. 80% of the work in previous 1 year has been bail works. So and which is a fairly relative point, how I see the court is also functioning as a marketing strategy. Is they are saying that the disposal rate of all the cases is still the same what was it was in the pre-pandemic era. And which is very funny, because every lawyer knows that we have just been working on the cases which were pending for last 20 years. Only the high court direction was for disposal of cases which had a lag for more than 20 or 30 years. Those cases were being disposed of, which were already on the brink and had to be dealt with so many years. So there's nothing. So just to maintain that facade that judiciary is functioning in a very right direction, and they are still doing the best of the work which was happening in the pre-pandemic era, it's a false narrative. It's nothing beyond that. Only the disposals of such cases were happening. And when you talk about criminal justice, the crux of the criminal justice here is how we are just working on 80% of the work which I just mentioned, that were bails. Now, in those bails, when you talk about the ratio of people applying for bail application and getting bails have gone from threefold to sixfolds, which earlier used to be 3 out of 10, has gone to 6 out of 10. And this is the data so this was a data pulled out of the journal which recently published this article, which stated this, that bail applications have gone up because of COVID fears. People don't want to stay in the jails anymore. Like, obviously everyone has a threat staying in the close proximity where virus can be transmitted easily. So bail applications have gone up, bail grants have gone up, and because of the scare of some, even the judicial bodies or the judges cannot make a decision of the number of non-bailable warrants being issued has gone down. So in all, judges are trying to keep people outside from the jails, or they are not willing to put more people at harm's way in jail, which is a very valid point because it can be a life-threatening issue. But on the counterpart, we can see that it is impacting the judicial system. Like how you were mentioning that the cases have gone up, and another breakthrough which I was going through the data, I realized that last year it was stated that 66% of the cases have gone down as compared to 2019 to 2020. There was a dip in cases by 66%. So obviously, I don't think so those people who were committing the crime simply went back home and they sat back because corona was active. No, it's a definitely a case of being underreported. So people are still committing crimes which are not coming up they are not breaking the barrier. As we can see, police and the whole system is under so much pressure to deal with COVID as of today. Everything else is being neglected, and everything else is trying to be suppressed. So which is just which is just it's like putting a curtain to all the things which is happening, and it's just an easy way to meddle with the system. But there are always it is consequential to justice. People who are being aggrieved again, talking about data. So in April itself, last month, like this, so people have lost 87 lakh jobs. And when we talk about deviant behaviors, if we go to the crux of all the, it's a more social legal aspect I'm talking about. So when you see people lose their job in such tough times, which has been taking a brunt for past 1 year. So these people, who's probably a laborer or who's a migrant laborer, who has been trying to move away to make a little extra money for past 1 year, or the matter of the fact to keep a job, it is putting people in that deviant behavior, because so many there is so much financial instability. And when we talk about deviant behavior, all these things just give a simple birth to deviant behavior, because if people won't have job, there is no way to suffice. Every business from every professional job has taken a brunt. I think lawyers on the panel would also agree that how they have displaced themselves to work accordingly to circumstances, which is very limited in nature. So if these people, when we say, are taking a deviant turn, and we say that statistically 66% of the cases have taken a dip, so where is exactly those people going? So we see a convergent merge where deviant behavior is increasing because there is no financial stability. On the other end, people simply are getting away because court is giving them relaxation from one aspect, because they are granting bail. They don't want to keep people they want them to be like away from all the harm which can be caused due to COVID. So it's a very it's at a steep angle where everything will increase. And talking about courts scenario, so right now courts are nowhere close to we are I think we are at the same juncture where we were in the like 1 year ago. People became so relaxed. There were so many petitions going on in the court that they should have an access, like all the lawyers should be coming to the courts, which have already been shunned away because of the again rise again. But everyone in the system was so adamant to be back in the courts and work the things the way they were. I think everyone neglected the structure we were supposed to put up in the place where we could see a second wave. And now I think people are more prone to understand that there can be a third or fourth wave in the coming times. As today, there is a new Andhra Pradesh strain which came up of COVID, which is 15%, 15 times more prone to have for others to contract. So I think the e-courts, which you are already saying through what the proposed plan is, has to move forward. There is no simply other way where I think it can actually be diverted. Physical hearing in the long term cannot be a reliable solution, as it is creating a lag between the current system, and the pendency will keep on increasing. And it has already, you mentioned that it has gone by years, it has gone extended, and probably we don't know how far and how far fetched it's going to be. So we need to put the system in place. We are still at a very same juncture in states like UP and all the areas which were already underdeveloped. So we are at the very same juncture. So I like to conclude. Basically, we have to proceed with the e-courts, because now everything is so dependent. We have to move through a digital era, which we are trying to neglect. Uh, as all these anomalies should divert our interest and should look toward the e-courts as an opportunity to establish more stable system. That is what we need to work upon, and probably a systematic action has to be taken through the government, and the courts have to take an action to build the infrastructure. Otherwise, we can never think of things going in that direction, uh, because there's no action being taken. It's just very sad in a way to understand that we are at the same platform where we were, as we have been debating for past 1 year.
Okay.
Yeah. So that
Okay.
is how I like to conclude.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Advocate Shivang Bhargav, for giving your views. And what Advocate Shivang Bhargav says that whatsoever has happened in the last 1 year, we have not learned a single lesson. We are where we were before the pre-COVID era, and now once the lockdown started, and according to him, once the lockdown was over, they have asked all the courts to finish up all the to dispose of the cases which are more than 30 years or more than 20 years. They were disposed of in hurry because they were supposed to be disposed of earlier, but nobody has even decided to do that. Afterwards, once this now again a new lockdown has come, still only the important like bail or in civil injunctions are being heard in the court, no, not any other cases, the normal cases. And he says because in a place like Mathura or all those cities where there is no e-courts, there they have to go personally, they have to be present, and at one given time many times it happens that more than 50 advocates and others are present in one court, which there is no question of any social distancing. One side, the courts are hammering the governments, state government and the central government for not adhering the COVID measures they are not taking. But here, they themselves are not clear how to control the COVID in their premises when they are allowing the 50 or more people at one time, even for the urgent hearings like bail, etc. So Advocate Shivang Bhargav is very clear. He says they have not learned, they should have done it in this last 1 year. The e-courts should be started properly when now everybody knows that now after the second phase or the third phase or the fourth phase will come of the pandemic. So we have to be prepared and we must educate and we must be there for the e-courts. We have to be ready for the e-courts. And he has also giving the data. He says, although one side the courts, high courts and other courts are saying that we have disposed of so many things, but basically if you see when a case is filed, bail is a interim relief, but it is not the disposal of the case. Main thing is the disposal of the case, and for that it takes how many years nobody knows. So ultimately it will be a pending, it will go in the pendency, and that's why my report says in the last year the pendency have increased. It has not decreased because only they have given the urgent relief or the interim relief, but they have not given, they have not disposed of the cases, actual cases which has been filed last year in 1 year's time. And that is why in all over India condition is that the backlog is increasing. Unfortunately in India, nobody is interested to appoint the judges, although there was a proposal, rather not proposal, there was a case filed in the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court has favored to appoint ad hoc judges in High Court. In one of my program, we have discussed about this, and we found this is nothing but to bypass the collegium and bypass the power of the state government, bypass the recommendations or the background checkup of a judge, of those who have been appointed. So, and it might be that they would like to appoint the judges, the government would like to appoint the judges which are in their favor, who have retired recently, and they will appoint them as an ad hoc judge. When they can appoint ad hoc judge, why they can't appoint a regular judges when so many vacancies are there? We can, one side we are talking of changing everything very fast. We can, we organize Kumbh Mela with a full everything, all facilities. We organize Holi. We organize elections, but we cannot appoint 400 or plus judges in High Court from a population of 140 millions in India, or rather 140, I will say 1.4 billion, as well as we can't appoint so many 400 judges from 20 lakhs advocates, which is very surprising. But this is the real fact, and that's why the pendency is there. And even the lower court, I will come and I will ask this question about the lower court, what are the procedure, how they are appointing the judges in my next round. Now, thank you very much, Advocate Shivang Bhargav, for giving your views. Now, I would like to invite my next guest, and he is Advocate Sudhanshu Khandelwal. Advocate Sudhanshu Khandelwal is practicing in Delhi High Court as well as other session courts. Advocate Khandelwal has completed his master's in law from New Law College, Pune, and currently having done diploma in medical jurisprudence and forensic science from Indian Law Society, Pune. He is having wider knowledge in aspects of medical negligence, which is going to be a vital issue post-COVID-19. Before starting practicing law in courts, he has been law researcher under Honorable Justice S.P. Kesarwani in Allahabad High Court. He is also imparting knowledge of law as guest faculty in GLA University, Mathura. Welcome, Advocate Sudhanshu Khandelwal, to our show. Advocate Sudhanshu Khandelwal, you have heard what Advocate Shivang Bhargav has expressed his views and explained about the conditions, about the pendency, as well as the condition of the criminal lawyer specifically, because the topic is of the criminal lawyers, which they are facing in a small cities like Mathura and other cities where there is no work is on, no e-courts are there. So they have to work, there is no virtual court, so they have to work, go for the urgent matters like bail physically. And it's a highly risk area because almost 50 advocates and court clerks and other people, including the judges, are present in one courtroom. And as you know very well, the courtrooms condition in India, especially in small cities, are not that great what you might be seeing in Delhi High Court or Supreme Court. But in spite of that, the advocates are going and trying their best to get the relief to the clients. But is this type of condition, and he also mentioned about the how high courts are slamming the state and central government every day, but still they are not thinking about the facilities to be provided in the lower courts. So now we would like to know from you the COVID returns impact on criminal cases in India. Advocate Sudhanshu Khandelwal, please.
Good morning, Mr. Goel, and good morning to all of the panelists over here. First of all, I'll start with the infrastructure basis, which you discussed, Mr. Goel. You discussed about the infrastructure, which is really in pathetic condition in many of the districts, and basically UP and some other states are also facing this kind of issues. If it is in regard to the infrastructure, if it is examination of witnesses, examination of accused, it is still being done in the orthodox basis, in the very traditional basis. Examination is done on the basis of on the paper, not on the not on digital ways, but it is happening still by using carbon copies, which is really a big hindrance for the lawyers who is coming practicing in district courts basically. So I'd like to start with the criminal jurisprudence, how the criminal jurisprudence bases on natural justice. If the person is having an issue, is being convicted or is being arrested for some particular reason, and if he is being arrested even for a single day, that single day might cost his life, and for that particular reason the advocate has to make efforts so that he gets the bail. Because of the court, Justice Krishna here said bail is an general rule, jail is an exception. So first of all, I would like to say there was a surge in criminal cases initially. When the lockdown was not there, there was criminal cases. In fact, in the pre-pandemic, in 1918 flu, there was a decrease in criminal cases that happens in the same in 2020 COVID. And thereafter, when the lockdown was lifted, the criminal cases again started being, it got increased. And there are different kind of criminal cases which got increased, that in terms of loot, in terms of criminal crime was also increases. For the report, I can say there were 44,000 criminal cases in civil cyber crime specifically, and the omission to oxygen omission to provide oxygen, that will be a big issue after the COVID is over, because that might extend to the culpable homicide, I believe. And I'll give you the report of the Allahabad High Court judgment, in which it has said, we are at pain in observing the death of COVID patient just for non-supplying of oxygen to the hospital. It is a criminal act, which Mr. Bhagev has also expressed on this issue. And there has been so many Supreme Court judgments on these lines, that the child also has to be released from childcare units, so to curb the spread of this COVID-19. There has been Supreme Court judgments to provide release of convicts from 4 to 6 weeks, so that to curb this pandemic. And there has been so many steps in these regards. And after the COVID is over, there'll be so many criminal cases on the basis of there'll be complaints about sudden price increase on certain products. And from the competition view, there has been so many complaints about it. And if we talk about the infrastructure and the vacancies, that takes a lot of time, I believe. But in few states, it takes a little bit procedure, and in different states, it is a different procedure. So I would like to say that there will be bit of time that is required on these things, and things will take time, and let's see how much time it takes.
Okay. Yes, you want to say something more, Advocate?
I would like to express a thing on. Just wait a second. I have to. Yeah. The lockdown was imposed by the entry 29 of concurrent list, right? But the state help, the public help is in the domain of state. But central made a mistake in doing centralizing of this thing, so that it could have been better if center could have. Hello.
Yes, we are listening. Go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead, please. Go ahead, Advocate. We can listen you.
Am I audible?
Yes, please.
Center could have made a better option if it could have been decentralized this thing, so that it could have been stopped from spreading this pandemic. And on the criminal side, if bail is being provided for some reasons, then I feel this is a better option to stop this, to curb this pandemic.
Okay, thank you, Advocate Sudhanshu Khandelwal, for giving your views. And Advocate Sudhanshu Khandelwal says that the infrastructure is in a pathetic condition, especially states like UP and others. And he says that because the lockdown was done by the central government, which was, according to him, is a mistake, because it comes in the concurrent list and it's a state domain, and it should have been done with a concurrence and taking confidence with the state government, and they would have been more effective to implement the lockdown. And he says the bail, which Supreme Court has also asked to give the bails to all those, and especially for the juvenile cases, and those were given the bails, and that is good, because otherwise the pandemic can spread there also. So according to him, but he says that the crime which has been gone down because of the lockdown, naturally, because nobody was on the road, nobody can go out, so there was a downfall in the crime. But once the lockdown was over, the crime has increased, including loots, etc., because the people were on the come back, as well as the jobs were not there. That's why one of the reason, I think, which Mr. Khandelwal, we will ask Mr. Khandelwal in the next round. But what he says is very, very clear, that although the high courts have asked all these state governments and the central government to provide the oxygens and see to it that nothing should happen, but still which is not there on the ground thing. But he says that the government should take immediate steps and see to it the conditions of the court should improve. Thank you very much, Advocate Sudhanshu Khandelwal, for giving your views. Now I would like to invite my next guest, and he is Mr. Srijan Mishra. Mr. Srijan Mishra is presently research assistant at Maharashtra National Law University, Nagpur. He completed his LLM in Energy and Telecommunication Laws, National Law University, Nagpur, and BA LLB honors from National Law University and Judicial Academy, Assam. He is also pursuing his PhD from Maharashtra National Law University, Nagpur, in the field of narcotics laws and education policy. Mr. Srijan has participated and presented papers at several national and international conferences. He has also attended and participated in international events like Critical Legal Conference organized by University of Kent, United Kingdom in 2016, World Intellectual Property Organization India Summer School in 2017, and the William C. says International Commercial Arbitration moved Vienna in the year 2018. He also has experience of closely working with the Center for Child Rights of National Law University Assam as volunteer, and has been involved in organizing many national conferences and capacity building program. Welcome, Mr. Srijan Mishra, on our show. Mr. Srijan Mishra, you have heard what Advocate Shivang Bhargav as well as Advocate Sudhanshu Khandelwal has spoken. And both are of the view that the infrastructure is pathetic. No lessons were learned in 1 year. Nothing has improved in the as far as the courts are concerned, and ultimately the sufferers are the litigants and the advocates, and the case pending work is there. Only the urgent hearings are taking place, and that too in a very pathetic condition, because the district courts or the civil courts of a district, especially in North India or other places also, the lower courts we can say, are not digitalized properly. And when they are not digitalized, they are not using the e-court system, and that's why the advocates and the clients or those have to go in person to the in court, and that is a very risky thing, especially in the COVID time and now also because of the COVID returns. So they are of the view that the government has to do something more for the courts. They must go for the e-court system, and they should see that everything should be digitalized, because they also feel that second or third or fourth wave is also expected. So if it is going to be a new normal, so we have to think and we have to plan for that. Now, you being a research scholar, and you are closely getting all the inputs from different parts of India, as well as from Maharashtra, which being based in Nagpur, which was a hot spot. Still, it is a very hot spot, and you are seeing how the COVID returns is more severe than the earlier one. We would like to know from you the COVID returns impact on criminal cases in India. Mr. Srijan Mishra, please.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lal, for having me here today. I've heard both the panelists, and I think I do agree with them as far as the infrastructural aspect is concerned. And because we've seen that all over the country, when we talk about infrastructure of the lower court, at least, we've seen that not much has been done, even by the states for that matter, to uplift the infrastructure that we already have in place. And it's not just in the North India or South India. I think the whole nation, when we talk about the lower court, the state of affairs is not very pleasing. And even the litigants, as well as the members of the criminal administration system, they do face a number of issues, and which have not been resolved, be it infrastructural or for that matter health preventions as well, when we talk about during the COVID times at least. So yes, we do need to upgrade our infrastructure, but what I feel is that when we talk about this lockdown coming into picture last year, and still we're talking about not a full-fledged lockdown, but something similar sort of arrangements going on by different state governments. We see that there are a number of crimes that are increasing, and there have been aspects which we do not talk about because they have not been reported. Right. So, for example, so I guess one of the panelists did talk about the prisoners, state of prisoners. I guess Advocate Shivang mentioned about the prisoners. Now, India has around 70% prisoners who are under trials, as per the official stats. Now, this is a huge number of people who have been incarcerated even after they've served the maximum time that they would have, in fact, got as a punishment. Now this becomes a major problem. In the year 2018, I think the overcrowding was 118 or 19% in Delhi itself. Now Delhi, the Tihar prison that we talk about, boasts itself of being one of the largest prison complexes in Asia. But the overcrowding itself is a big, huge problem there. And to tackle that, a high-powered committee was established last year, which did grant, bail or furlough, whatever was the, case with each prisoner. But what happened when we went into the unlock period? Now the government went into unlock, the industries went into unlock, people went into unlock phase. But what about these prisoners who were out there? They were called back to the prison. And now again that we're going into a systematic lockdown, or in a way states are planning 1 week, 2 days, 3 days, or a week, 10 days, 15 days lockdown. What happens to these prisoners who went back to the prison? Now this high powered committee is not talking about them, and this committee was dissolved as soon as we went into unlock mode. Now this committee also is not taking initiative now because it's not existing anymore. So now these are a very structural problem that we have, which were focused then because it was a complete lockdown. But now the unlock phase came in, and now we are going into phase wise lockdown, and it's not a complete lockdown by central government. It's the states who are taking care of it. So I think such issues are somewhere sidelined and are not focused anymore. And also it's as we've talked about, the pendency of the cases is a lot, and we see that the courts are struggling as well. We do not have 2020 crime record data as yet because of the lockdown and the different data collection issues. Now, when we don't have data, we can just say that the courts have been sitting. We know that Supreme Court has sat for more hours than it usually did because of the court mode. And even the high courts, for that matter, have worked a lot. But again, when we don't have data, we cannot conclusively say that the crime rate went up or down. But it's also, I would just like to go into a bit of the social legal aspect, because we've talked about stats a lot. And we know that there are infrastructural issues. There are issues with dependency of the appointment of the judges. The collegium takes time, and then when the collegium gives out a name, the central government takes time. So that is I think, a structural problem that we have. But I would like to go into more into social legal aspect that have come up with the lockdown. What kind of cases have increased? We have seen kidnapping has gone down. We've seen theft has gone down while the lockdown was in place. Robbery, murder, such cases were going down. But what cases were going up? And these are the cases which did not get reported, more or less. Termed as shadow pandemic was one of the issue of domestic violence. The United Nations came up with this report where they said that this is a shadow pandemic during the lockdown what women faced, because women had to live with their husbands, and domestic violence was one of the major issues, and there was no redressal mechanism. In the first 4 months itself, the Ministry of Women and Child Development itself stated on record in the Parliament that there were more than 3,000 cases of women, getting some kind of difficulty staying with their husband, and domestic violence happening. So these are the official records. 3,000 number in 4 months is not a less number. And even in the state of Punjab saw 21% rise in the first month itself. And since then, this has been a norm. It has not changed. The woman, the child, they're having problems because of number of social factors as well. Because when someone who's earning has stopped, like we've discussed, he lost his job, he's not in job anymore, he's not getting money, he's staying in the house, he's getting anxiety, mental issues are coming up, and the women and children have to face the blunt of it. And such are the crimes which are not being reported much. And during the lockdown, we did not even focus much on it because they were not reported. One. Second, there was no redressal mechanism, active redressal mechanism who would reach to these women. Obviously, they could. The women helpline always is there, but it became a problem for women helpline also to help each and every woman or child there. Because it was hard for police also to, because obviously the police has been working in tremendous pressure. The government machineries are working in tremendous pressure. There are a number of issues which are there. So, crime against women is one thing which we still have not been able to, curb, in the real sense when we talk about COVID and lockdown. Second, like Advocate Khandelwal mentioned, the cyber crimes. Still we are understanding how different apps are working, the payment applications or banking applications, and even people who are not very much literate are using these smartphones now, and they have to access it. And I know, cases where people have invested in a number of things and they're not getting their money back. So these kind of issues are something which, and they're being scammed online. So when we talk about such things, and one more issue which I thought has come up recently is of adoption. I'm sure all of us have seen on different social media platforms that people are posting pictures of children and saying that their parents died due to COVID and please help them. Such kind of thing, I think, leads us to bigger criminal issues that we are talking about. And I feel that the courts are still not able to, address such issues. The courts are very far away from addressing such issues, or not only courts, the whole criminal justice system or administration system is not really going into this, that such things, when you post a child's picture with all of its detail, could lead to human trafficking issues. We're not even thinking of in such a broader concept. And this might, because people think that it's very easy to share a child's picture, and so the child will get some help, they're doing it for a good deed, but they're not realizing the larger implication that would happen to that child, the human trafficking rings, because the child is vulnerable, he has no one around, or she's no one around, both the parents have died due to COVID. What does the child do in such a case? These are the questions that are still that we need to address, and we as an individual also have to be more vigilant about it. I think 2 days back Smriti Rani made a statement on the same, that please do not share details of the children, and their addresses and phone numbers. If you actually want them to get adopted, please call the official agencies, like Kara is one of them, who is very active in adoptions. So now these such kind of cases that we talk about, now the courts are going into, this is my personal opinion here, that the courts are dealing with cases of hoarding more, black marketing more, which is very good, which is required. And we've, like Advocate Bhargav said, that the bail has become a norm now, and more bailable warrants are given out, so that the accused can go out on bail. But what about such issues? The courts are not addressing such issues, and we're somewhere blurring these issues because there's not much data. But it is a sad reality that these data, these instances are still there, and the courts should not only focus on whether to give bail or not, but also they have to be very much active as to how to deal with such cases coming up. And post COVID, we would be living in a different world altogether, because we will be in a different mental sphere. Someone who either contracts this virus or his family member gets it, it's a different mental situation altogether. And once we come out of it, where I feel that we are a very different human being, because a number of thoughts that get in our heads. So when we're talking about a society which is post COVID, with newer types of crime increasing, and we're seeing a change in the trend altogether, would somewhere put more burden and responsibility on the courts in the country, be it lower court or the high court or the honorable Supreme Court, to tackle these cases. And advocates will have to get in more into such cases, and will have to, like Prime Minister, the ex-Prime Minister Manmohan Singh gave the 5-point solution to the present Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and one of them was to tag the advocates, the litigants, as the frontline warriors. And I think that would have been one of the very good suggestions that he gave, and that would not only help the advocates going to court, but also would help in the attaining the end result of what the criminal justice system is, to provide justice to the litigants. These poor people, what do? Someone, we have had the discussion before also, someone who has money can approach any court, be any lawyer for that matter. But someone who's not even earning anymore, what does that individual do? How does he take care of the injustice that is happening to him? So when we talk about e-courts, we also have to see that whether or not access to justice is there. For me, access to justice is very much important here, rather than just establishing an institution. Because if there's no access to justice, what will these e-courts do? We cannot make this justice system a system of elites. It never was, and I don't think it ever will be. And if we say that, while talking about e-courts, we also have to see that whether the lawyers are able to get the clients to actually meet them and tell them, or because a lawyer cannot just randomly go, he has to discuss it with his her client as well. So if the client is not able to reach to the advocate, what is the whole point of e-courts as well? What about that infrastructure we're talking about? So I think when we're talking about e-courts or the appointment of judges, we also see that while we're pushing the criminal administration system, we also see that the access to justice aspect is not left behind. A parallel institution, a parallel system, I think should be focused there. And I think both should be developed together, because even if we developed a robust criminal justice system based on digital platform, if access to justice is not there, I think the purpose of it would fail in the end. And because more and more courts are going into the digital modes, and there was also talk about going full-fledged e-courts also, or a hybrid system also, even after the pandemic gets over and we go back to normalcy. So even in such cases, we see that if the access of justice aspect is not concentrated and is not being focused on, it would lead to bigger problems later on. So I think while we're talking about the legal aspect, the social legal aspect, I think both of these systems should come together. And the courts have been working on that. I think Justice Chandrachud has been very active when we talk about access to justice, and not only him, I think other judges also, the Supreme Court and different high courts, have focused time and again on access to justice as well. So while we talk about the whole criminal administration system and justice system, I personally feel that the access to justice part and the newer crime that we're seeing which are not reported, I think we should be vigilant as an individual and as citizen of the country to help them reach at least, if not provide them justice, but at least give them some hope, and at least maybe be able to make them stand in front of the court and let them present their arguments. So I feel both systems should develop together. And as we're moving towards the post-COVID, we're thinking about a post-COVID period where we're coming up with different new inventions and new modes of handling the criminal cases. Even the advocates have worked a lot, and we've talked about how some advocates are not even able to make out their bread, because they're not that much, I would say, they're not earning initially also that much, and now in a digital platform they're also suffering, their earning is suffering. Someone who's well established, even some people who are well established also had problems in continuing their offices and paying their interns and number of employees that they had. So it's not easy for advocates also. So while we talk about a period which is post-COVID, or in fact, now that we're talking about when COVID is returned again, and I don't think in next couple of months anything's going back to normalcy anytime soon, because of the number of cases that we're seeing rising. So I think a thought has to process where we're considering all three of the parties here: the criminal administration system, the advocates, and also the clients here, or someone who needs justice. So if we think of such a system where we can push all through, obviously I can understand because of infrastructural issues and the problems with the government also, and the institutions are working in tremendous pressure as of now. It might take time, but I feel that if we focus on all three together, if let's say not 100%, but even if we do 50%, on all three areas, I think we would be able to help the society in better way, and the criminal administration system and justice system would be able to meet its end.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mishra, for giving your views. But I would like to just mention one thing you mentioned about the domestic violence. I had my media conference of 1st July 2020, in which, apart from Dr. Mohinigri and other, including Advocate Nimla Samant and others, Dr. Pratap Ramchandra Divankar, IPS, Inspector General of Police, Maharashtra State. He is the for the prevention of crime against women and children, Mumbai. He mentioned very clearly that the domestic violence has decreased in Maharashtra during the lockdown. Now, you are saying that it is increased during the lockdown because the wife has to stay with the husband or whatsoever. So in that case, according to you, as per your reports, but he said very clearly that as per the records of Maharashtra state at that time, the domestic violence has decreased drastically. That is one point, which I don't know. We cannot verify, because it might be that the reporting was not there.
I completely agree to that, sir. I mean, what I data said that it was, I specifically pointed out state of Punjab and the ministry's data which came up at that point in time. So I think it was not really true for every state. because every state has its own pattern and living conditions. So I think it would not apply to all these states, but it was the ministry data that came out at that point of time, which said that it was a partial increase that the ministry saw. And some states particularly reported higher number, like 20-25% at that point of time. So it might not be true for state of Maharashtra, but I think in most other cases, the data where data is present, they've stated that in most of the cases, the instances of domestic violence increased.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Mishra, for giving your views. Now my question goes to Advocate Shivang Bhargav. Advocate Bhargav, have we learned any lesson in last 1 year? See, we are talking about the post-COVID time. We always say post-COVID time. What post-COVID time? The day unlock started, we came back on the same routine. We have not thought that the COVID will come back again. Although the experts were warning from the D-Day 1 that this is not going to be a one-time affair. Mutants will be there, no variants will come. And when we are seeing what is happening in Europe, what is happening in USA, why our criminal or our legal system or the judiciary, which is otherwise very proactive, was so much silent that they have not done anything once the lockdown started. And what they have done is that they issued an order that all the cases pending for more than so many years to be disposed of in a very speedy time and in the time period, and all the courts have to function normally. Do you think this is a utter failure of the judiciary administration, that they have not thought about their own system, about the advocates, about the litigants? What do you say about this, Advocate Shivang Bhargav?
Absolutely, I agree with you that it is an utter failure. But when we think about it, this is the transition which was supposed to happen in next 20 or 30 years. And when at a standstill point, courts are told to do that transition in one particular year, it is very difficult. Neither they have the budget or the planning.
Mr. Advocate Bhargav, I just want to stop you here. Why there is no budget? You know, in all the courts are collecting court fees. Where the money is going? Why that court fees have not been spent in the same court? Yeah, you know very well the court fees, although it is coming from the civil litigations, but it's a very heavy court fees. And I'm sure if a district court will say, or the High Court says, or Supreme Court says, all the court fees collected in this time will be for the development of the infrastructure of that particular court, there is no dearth of the money. What do you say about that?
I think money, and when you just simply state it in this manner, I agree. It becomes very easy. But when you talk about the bureaucratic aspect of it, that so many channels have to pass through and so many planning has to take place, then it has to be agreed upon and it has to be set forward, then tender is to be issued. And so many things are which lie in this due process. It is the transition what they were expecting it to go in next 20 years, but it's happening today. And talking about the fees aspect, there are so many permission and so many levels of filters and so many levels at which it has to be processed and agreed upon, that money to be sanctioned, which it has to come to
Advocate Shivang Bhargav, we are talking of the judiciary. If judiciary cannot get rid of the bureaucratic red tape, who else will get it? Who will see judiciary? The question is, after all, this is a life and death of the advocates, the litigants, and the main part, which one of you have mentioned, the delivery of the real justice. In the interest of justice, if this bureaucratic hurdles cannot be removed by the judiciary, then God save our country. Who is going to remove that? What do you say about that?
It is already in the hands of the God anyways. So it has come to that dirt point.
One question has come for you only. Miss Priya, she's a school teacher. She has said, because you mentioned about the criminal cases went down. She says, I was really wondering, has the criminal cases went down? Theft, murders, extortion? According to her, they have increased like anything. even during the lockdown or afterwards. What you say about that, Advocate Bhargav?
That is exactly I was saying. It has not gone down. It has simply gone down in the facades. Like when people, it is just a case of underreporting now. People, like the system is so busy, like police and everyone is so busy with the lockdown, imposing it, trying to control or trying to manage so many things which has been burdened upon the police. Their eyes have been off the ball because of the same reason. And people who are committing the crime are simply roaming around free. They don't have anything to bother. The whole system of fear has collapsed from the system. Like people who might be committing robbery, looting earlier, they do on one hand they don't have the option because they don't have the jobs or the money, and on the other hand nobody is vigilant. So now people are completely thinking that it's a free hand. You have the opportunity to do anything you want. It is like the jungle Raj.
Okay. Okay, so it is like a jungle Raj, says Advocate Shivang Bhargav. Now he moves to Advocate Sudhanshu Khandelwal. Advocate Sudhanshu Khandelwal, you have done a diploma in medical jurisprudence and forensic science, and you are having wider knowledge of aspects of medical negligence. Now my question to you is, you know this oxygen shortage is going on, and every day we are reading in the media or watching in the media, so many people lost their life due to the shortage of oxygen.
Yes, sir.
Now tell me, who will be responsible for this medical negligence, whether the doctors, hospital, or the supplier or the government? Whom the litigant, who's the sufferer, the victim, will go and file a criminal case of the murder or genocide or whatsoever word you will say, against whom, and who will be responsible?
Foremost, the liability will be the oxygen providers, and indirectly it will be the liability of a state who is maintaining such kind of rules, that who has to keep this kind of these oxygen and all things. First of all, I'll discuss one thing: the right, the loot. These are not societal phenomena. This all depends on the economy phenomena.
Advocate Khandelwal, I want the complete answer of my question.
Yeah.
You said the oxygen provider. How oxygen provider? See, there is a layers. The one is oxygen who is generating or manufacturing the oxygen. Then there are distributors or the dealers of those who are providing the oxygen. Okay. Now they have been totally governed by the government, whether the central government or the state government. How the responsibility lies with them?
Initially, we ourselves cut the trees, right? We ourselves are responsible for this infrastructure. We made these buildings despite there was no requirement.
We means
Obviously, like each people, although there should have been the regulation by the government, but we ourselves responsible that we cut all the trees which was a requirement of oxygen.
No,
and those are
I would mean the Advocate Khandelwal. We are not talking of the nature trees cutting. That is a separate socio-economy or the nature, that we are not talking about the environmental thing. We are talking right now. The condition is when patient dies in a hospital, and the hospital made a statement that this death is due to the want of oxygen. Now, in that case, the patient will file a criminal case against whom? Because see, if the patient is dying due to the illness, then it is not coming under that medical negligence, because the doctors or the hospital tried their best to save the patient. But it is a total negligence. That's why yesterday even the Honorable High Court of Allahabad has mentioned and hammered, and all the courts are saying that it is nothing but a genocide. When it is a genocide, what remedy I have if I lose any near and dear? Against whom I should file a case, and I should see that that person should be hanged? Whom?
The government is responsible for it.
Government is responsible. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yes. Now you want to say something.
There are not so many medical professionals like the person I came to know about, your brother, who has got the Lifetime Achievement Award, Mr. Ramin Gyanin Goel, for the gastric surgery. I came to know about it. There are so many medical professionals who are not doing their job properly, But
No,
for this lack of oxygen,
Advocate Khandelwal, I don't think that at this pandemic time, anyone of just think of a medical, like you are talking about the advocates, medical people are working day and night. And before, when the 2020, when the pandemic started, so many people have started showering, and our honorable Prime Minister also asked to
there are
do
exceptions to it,
clap,
no?
etc. No, it's not see, there are black sheeps in everywhere. But my question is not that. My question is, people are trying their best. Okay, fatigues are there that they have now for last 1 year, but still they are working day and night, leaving their family.
Totally agree.
My question is not that. The question is, if I will file a case, whether I will make the hospital or the doctor's party or not.
Yeah, obviously they'll be making
if I will make a party to doctors and a hospital, they are not covered by insurance. And tomorrow, as you all know, being in legal fraternity, the stand by the government will be same everywhere. There was no shortage. We have allotted the gas. This responsibility was of the supplier or the person. They have not carried some other reasons, like Batra Hospital. 12 people died. In other hospitals, so many people. In Karnataka, 24 people died. What crime they have done? And just think of the mentality of a doctor who were treating them. They are crying. They were crying. They are mentally totally imbalanced because they know that this patient can be saved. But now they are not saving. Again, if they have to face a criminal case, which you know very well, 10,
But
20, 30 years. 10, 20,
and
30 years. Why the doctors will take a chance?
But the analysis of the facts will be done by the court, no?
How much time it will take?
It will depend upon the court. It will depend upon the case, basically.
Yeah. The case is very simple. The medical negligence, murder. That my near and dear has been killed by the hospital because of by anyone because of a want of oxygen. Now I file a case. I will make a state party, government party, central government party. I will make the oxygen provider, whom I don't know, but I will say oxygen provider, and the hospital I know, the doctor I know.
Yeah.
Then they have to come to the courts for 10 or 20 years. And so
absolutely.
the 10, 20 years, the doctor who is there to serve or want to save is now coming to the courts.
Yeah,
Is
he'll have to come.
Sorry?
He'll have to come for some reason, and the court will decide whether he's somehow guilty or not. Because there are so many hospitals, I would not like to name those kind of hospitals.
Okay.
Thank you. Making money.
No, we are not discussing. Some people are making money. That is there. I'm going to keep a program on that also. The corruption during this COVID returns, how they are selling the injections so costly, how even the vaccines are now being sold on black market. So that is a separate thing. The question is very clear. When a doctor knows today, or even a hospital knows that tomorrow they have to face the criminal negligence cases, which are bound to come, so many cases come, who is going to face? Why not a legislation to be passed or an ordinance to be passed that in such cases, so and so it will be responsible? You might be knowing that there's a nodal officer has been appointed on the hospitals. Then the nodal of the hospital person is there. Why there is a shortage? If there is a shortage, then that nodal officer is responsible. But the nodal officer can't do, if the directions from the top comes that divert this tanker to other district, what he can do? Anyways, thank you very much, Advocate Sudhanshu Khandelwal. I think we will have another discussion on this point again, because it's a very, very crucial and very critical point. Now, my question to you is, Mr. Srijan Mishra, we are talking about infrastructure, and like Advocate Shivang Bhargav says, budget, all those things. To develop infrastructure of any court is not a big thing. You require a proper broadband. You require proper the digital platforms, or you require computers. That is hardly, if anybody would take interest, 1 week or 10 days time. You were having 8 months or 10 months, I must say. Why no court? I can blame up to the highest court of the land. Why no one has taken interest when they were knowing this is going to happen again? There were reports, and again, now the experts are saying, there is a report in the newspaper today that the Karnataka will have third wave in September, October. Now, it means not only Karnataka, it's pan-India. It's not because now we are free to move here and there, and we are spreading everywhere. So everybody knows the third wave is also coming. But if we are not taking anything serious, and still we are not taking any serious, then what is the use? Why the infrastructure? My question to you is why they are, or either they are not interested to upgrade the systems infrastructure so that they will have more workload, or they are helpless. What you say, Mr. Mishra?
I think you're right there. Which the third wave factor is very much true, because Maharashtra minister also recently made a statement that Maharashtra will see the third wave in the July and August period, where they've not even dealt with the second wave properly yet, and they're talking about the third wave. We can understand how pathetic situation might get into. But sir, while when we talk about these lower courts, I think it's a very sad state of affair that no one is taking an initiative here to do it. Like you said, just a broadband and a computer system, and I don't think high courts have are so helpless that they cannot even ask for funds, or they do not have funds for that matter. I think allotment has been there, and all the high courts have been very active, I feel, when we talk about having a new infrastructure or new building set up for different court complexes. But when we talk about lower courts, I think not much heed has been paid to them. And even if talk about state of Uttar Pradesh or Maharashtra, or for that matter any other state, Karnataka or any other state, I think the lower courts, I don't know why, even I cannot understand the reason why they are not helping them out in a way. Because most of the population that file a criminal case, they go to the district court at first, and high court and supreme court are a thing that we talk about after 5 or 6 years. And the infrastructure that we have at the lower level is very in its very sorry state of affairs, and all they have to do is pass a direction to the state governments. It's not, we're not talking about lakhs of crores here, but a very minimum, with a very minimum budgeting also, this thing can be attained. It's not something that also needs a parliament approval as well. So it's a very minimum thing that could be. And every high court, if they're talking about, every high court has a committee, although vote committee.
Mr. Mishra, we are not interested. We are not taking any permission from the parliament for spending crores and crores rupees for Kumbh Mela. We are not taking any parliament permission to pay money to the for organizing Holi at Barsana. And still we are talking about for the court, which is a basic thing for providing this thing. Anyway, thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Mishra, you made a point very nicely. Now my question to you, Advocate Shivang Bhargav, when in income tax department, they are doing the faceless assessment, why not in criminal cases also, where their crimes can be, why not we have a faceless justice to be provided, where anywhere somebody is sitting at home, because the infrastructure what we are talking of the court buildings, we don't require court building. People are working from home. The judge is sitting at home. He might be sitting at Guwahati, and he's hearing what is happening at the case of Mathura. So it's a faceless. Nobody knows from where the judge is sitting. And you being at Mathura, or somebody from Delhi, or whosoever the litigants are, they can give their views, and he will provide the justice then and there only. Why this is not possible? It doesn't require cost, only require the broadband, and which now in 1 year's time it has been done. It can be done, it can be improvised. That is not a big issue. At the most, the courts can do is they can provide the rooms, like you have a bar room where the advocates sit with a social distancing, that only at one time 20 advocates can sit, and that you go there where all these facilities of the computer and laptop and whatnot is there, the broadband, and you can go for the online, because the major problem is coming that there's no broadband facilities. The advocates are not they cannot have those facilities, so they cannot do. What you say about this, Advocate Bhargav?
First of all, talking about faceless, I think you're very right. But actually, the criminal trial has so many folds that it has to be a repetitive measure. So it cannot be something like an injunction is passed and it can be settled. If a trial has to take place, it's a very elongated process. So it cannot be just stuffed up to
No,
one
I am not talking of the trial. I am not talking of the suit filed. I am talking of the interim relief. Like you have mentioned that 50 people, 50 advocates are sitting, going at one room. Right now, all the courts are doing is the interim relief. They are not doing a regular work right now. They are either giving injunction or vacate. Now, no vacation. Rather, they are giving injunction or the bail. That is the main two things which the courts are doing.
Yeah.
So when they are doing only two things, it can be done faceless. So at least the load or the problems which are facing, like one of the panelists said that so many 70% under trials are there. At least they will get justice. Because there was a report that in Mathura, more than 100 prisoners were affected by the COVID. So if it is there, then what is going to happen? After all, whether he's a prisoner, he's under trial, he's a human being. We cannot see that somebody will go and have been affected and go die with the, something which is COVID. What do you say about that?
So I think there is a twofold approach to this. I agree with what you're saying. It can be very well established. But being a legal practitioner, I have seen when it was initially in 2020, when it was introduced that how we are supposed to function, there was one particular mail ID given for all the paperwork to happen. And I have seen lawyers struggle who are so used to working in their old premises, like where a paper they used to give a handwritten document which was specified in particular Hindi, and now you are suddenly putting pressure. So it is the repulsion, it is the force from the other side, which is the lawyers who also don't want to progress in that direction because they don't know how to function there. And on the contrary, that is the main thing which is again creating problem for the system, because system will only act if I say that there are 5,000 lawyers in Mathura, and 5,000 out of which 5,000, like the entire registered lawyers here are very efficient in working on a computer, then that particular court will have to take an action and put all these systems into place, because then people will push. If I am not capable of working on a computer, I will try and make it, I'll try to push it in my own favor, because even I have to make the bread for myself. I have to win it. So ultimately the repulsion is coming from the other end. And second approach, that I'll tell you an instance. In one of the magistrates in Mathura court only, they had put up a hybrid system for virtual conference. So they were sitting in their chamber and they had put up a webcam where people will come into the court one by one, and they could address their issues, and the problem will be eradicated, or whatever as per the list was taken up in the matter. And there was one person sitting in front of the camera and 60 people sitting next to them whom judge can't see because the viewpoint of the camera is very straight. So this is the particular approach where what people have here. So they are blatantly oblivious that we don't want to see COVID and we want to just function the way we know it. Nobody is willing to change.
Okay. No one is willing to change. My question to you, Advocate Khandelwal, you are also a guest faculty at GLA University, Mathura. What has in this post COVID-19 era, means after the unlock time, any refreshers course were organized for the advocates for training them about the use of digital media or use of internet and how to file the cases? Has anywhere in India this type of drive has been taken over either by the courts or by the bar councils, which you already have in all the district bar councils or the Bar Council of India? Has there any such type of move has done?
No, we had a discussion about it in our meeting, but it could not be enforced. It could not be implemented on the basis. Like, we got the data of advocates to conduct such kind of or webinar or something, so we can impart such training to those people. But it could not be completed because of the wave of this pandemic.
Advocates Khandelwal, sorry to say, this is a politicians always discuss and talk and try to delay. See, 8 months. How much time it, because if you would have given the refreshers course, at least like Advocate Bhargav mentioned 5,000, let's take a figure of 5,000, at least even if 1,000 would have been imparted training, they would have come in the mainstream and they would have earned their bread. Now the question to you, Mr. Sejan
Yeah,
Mishra, is,
basically, I am guest
oh,
faculty, not a permanent faculty over there. I just can provide some suggestion over there. It's not my job to
no,
get
no,
the
no. I'm
things
not
done.
saying at you. I'm not saying your university. I am
Yeah,
saying the district courts. I am
yeah.
saying the courts as well as the bar council. Whether they have provided, after all, like now you have a university at Mathura, they would have sent the lawyers, advocates in the university, asking them to train them how to use the internet. See, after all, education institutions are all over India. Now, advocates can be sent for a, like medical people are going for refreshers course. All IPS officers, all IAS officers, they always go for refreshers course. Is there any such type of provision by Bar Council of India to have such type of refreshers course
So
or not?
basically, intellect comes from the conscience, and there is a rumor also in the court premises that the Bar Association of Mathura got some money from Bar Council of India, basically, but that was not distributed, and that was for the purpose of training to the advocates. But I don't know where the hell money has gone. So we
Okay.
can complain for such kind of things.
Okay, okay, thank you. Mr. Sijan Mishra, now when advocates, now you are doing research and you are still in academic this thing. Are we training the new advocates this new norms where they should know how to conduct the virtual the e-courts, how to participate in the e-courts, how to do the hybrid system or not, with the new curriculum has been introduced in last 1 year time after the this pandemic, or still the same curriculum is going on which was there earlier?
Sir, as for the newly enrolled advocates, as far as I know, some of the high courts have taken some initiatives. I think Guwahati High Court being one of them, they did have some integration program for the newly advocates, registered advocates, but that happened last year. But I'm not sure whether they went into virtual thing or not. But there was an integration program that took place for the newly registered advocates, and I think the Bar Council of Maharashtra and Goa also took some lead. But I think because of the second wave that came in, that thing did materialize. But some intent was there from their side, the Bar Council of Maharashtra and Goa, that it should be done. But it has. I don't think it is being implemented anywhere as of now. But some intent has been shown.
Yes, yes, Mr. Mishra, the second wave came only in the month of February or March, rather because everyone was enjoying, rather they were patting themselves that we have won the battle. So we cannot blame that the second wave because of the second wave. Anyway, now my particular question to you, Advocate Shivang Bhargav, do you think that because of this online or the virtual courts, the justice can be delivered in the criminal cases? Well, we can imagine the civil cases where the arguments, it all depends on the how you are good in the craft, how you can argue your things in the court. But here, where there's a question of a life or death or a bail, or main is the bail, without seeing the body language of the criminal, by sitting in the court or the virtual, as you have mentioned, can they grant bail, or can the judge can assess without seeing which they say eye contact in your language, where there is no eye contact there? What you say, whether this justice has been delivered or not? Please unmute.
Sorry, actually,
Okay,
there was
it
an
is
issue with the network. I could not.
okay.
Yeah.
Now is it okay? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. My question is very simple. This virtual court can deliver the justice, real justice, to the litigant or the thing in criminal cases or not? Because otherwise they says until unless the cross is happening in front of the judge, he or she sees the body language, the advocate also, when they cross in person, they know how, whether this the witness is saying right or correct or not, whether the justice will be delivered or not.
It cannot happen. It is merely impossible, because if a trial is happening, a cross and a chief and all these things have to take place, a cross examination cannot take place. And when we see it has to be such an adamant process. Like right now, if we talk about lawyers, we are dealing with 1 or 2 or 3 cases in a day, and sitting in one particular, if I have to see, like in a chief, a lawyer cannot ask leading questions. So if at present, if I'm occupied in some particular other virtual court, or my other timing is being expected, I cannot probably be I cannot be a witness to what is happening in my own client's proceedings.
Okay.
So which is very, and you cannot have a judge's divided attention to a particular case. So it's very, very difficult.
Very difficult. Okay,
in current scenario, like probably 2 or 3 stenos are writing.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Paucity of the time. Advocate Khandelwal, very short. In USA, total number of lawyers are 13.5 lakhs for a population of 33 crores. And in India, we have only 20 lakhs in a population of 140 crores. Do you think is the reason for pending cases? Please unmute. Please unmute. Please unmute. Yes, please.
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead. Yeah.
The pending cases is not based upon the lack of advocates. Advocates are sufficient. There might be possibility they are some in other fields, they are in corporate or something, but the advocates are sufficient in number. But the workload is due to the lack of the judicial officers, be it the lower courts, be it the high courts. There are so much vacancies lying over there in the particular high courts, the lower courts.
Okay. Although, thank you, Advocate Khandelwal. Although they says always that because of the lawyers, they always try to delay the case intentionally, and that's why the long dates were given. Now, my last to Mr. Mishra is, what is your one suggestion which you would like to give either to government or the higher courts, Supreme Court, which can solve this problem? Because this problem will continue. Our pandemic will continue. In this context, what is one suggestion which you want to give?
Sir, I think one suggestion can be that to start the digitalization of the district courts, and if not all together, at least they can do in phased manner. Let's say 10, 15 districts from every state. At least 6 months time, we will see that 6 months or a year time, we'll see that these courts will be capable altogether. So if all not together because of budget and different factors, whatever they might state, I think in phased manner it can be done. It would be very helpful for the courts and would also be would help in the whole criminal administration system. Sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So today you have seen that the legal expert, what they say is that they are facing lots of problems, reasons the infrastructure is not there, and no court or no judicial systems they have improved after even the first pandemic, that is the 2020, the COVID-19. And that's why they are facing lots of problems, those who are going only for the bail and injunction. And what about those advocates who were not having that much work earlier? Now, what is how they are going to earn money for their bread and butter? So this is a very, very burning question. We are only seeing the court hammering every day about the oxygen shortage. That is also very, very important thing. But the courts or the high courts or Supreme Court should also think of the lower courts, their advocates, the litigants. They should not limitize themselves only to see that they are coming in the media. After all, they are also advocates. They are also the injustice is happening. They are also the litigants are there. They are also from the civil society. So thank you very much. And today's program, which has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Newsgaon se Samvad Sarokar News, Organ, as well as it was shown on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor is to bring to you every day a new topic. And tomorrow, media conference with Lal Goel. The topic at 10:30 a.m. The topic is COVID returns, impact on lady doctors. And our panelists are Dr. Rajiv Anand, Senior Psychiatrist and Marriage Counselor, Mumbai, Professor Girja Wagh, Professor, Department of OB-GYN, Bharati Vidyapeeth Medical College Hospital, Pune, Dr. Bhavika Hot-Chandani, Palliative Care, Co-founder and Director, Sneh Elder Care Private Limited, Mumbai, Dr. Aninda Sidhana, Consultant Psychiatrist, Sri Ganga Nagar, Dr. Gauri Gupta, practicing infertility consultant, medical director, Desire IVF, Mumbai. So please tune in tomorrow for media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Thank you very much, Advocate Shivang Bhargav. Thank you very much, Advocate Sudhanshu Khandelwal. And thank you very much, Mr. Srijan Mishra, for giving your very, very valuable and expert views. I am sure that today's media conference has enlightened the viewers, as well as it will try to open the eyes of the government and the judiciary so that the lacunas can be covered. Thank you very much. And thank you all the viewers for watching our show.